Live from Muskegon, Michigan, this is Tiger Talk Wrestling.
Hey guys, welcome into the second to the last episode of the King of the Yard 2 recap shows, as we will recap the second round of King of the Yard 2, and we'll do a little preview of their upcoming final episode, which will showcase the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals of King of the Yard 2. Hi Riley, hi Gunshot, good to see you both in the comment section today. Now, we got a couple videos that will be played during this show as well. They're sending to me. You're going to hear some music in the background here for a minute. I get some things set up. There we go. Glad to know you left a like, Gunshot. See, there's 4 on the video at the moment. Riley, you should have watched the entire tournament so far. Shame on you if you haven't. It's been a fun tournament. So we're going to go right into the first match that happened this past Thursday night on King of the Yard 2 for the second round. And that match was between the diamond of the industry. Victor Van Pelt went one-on-one with Evan Blake. It was an alright match. Not my favorite of the show, but it was still good. The ending was definitely different, and not something you would expect to really see. But you would see Victor Van Pelt go out and get a package of cookies as he did his best to try and impersonate, I guess, in a way, or poke fun at the King of the Mountain, Ron McDonald. Want some cookies, motherfucker. And he would take that package of cookies in the ring after the ref was knocked out and hit Evan Blake with it, and then pulled out a rock out of that bag of cookies. For some reason, Evan Blake didn't get up before the 3 count. I don't understand why when he got hit with a rock. As Victor Van Pelt advances to the quarterfinals of the King of the Yard 2 tournament. Gunshot says he'd be having a better day, but he lost a good friend yesterday. Very sorry to hear that. Hope you're doing okay and things will get better, I'm sure. Darkside, good to see you in here. King of McDonald's hashtag from Riley Bates, as per usual. Yes, a rock is what led to Victor Van Pelt winning the match. From that match, we would go on to see the Blaze was supposed to go one-on-one with Corey Graves. And as the Blaze was making his way out to the ring, he would get attacked from behind by the man he defeated in the first round, the King of the Mountain himself, Navon McDonald, who would take a chair to the leg and stomp on it, taking the Blaze out of the tournament effectively for the rest of the tournament. And, of course, being the boss of NUW, Navon McDonald would throw himself into that spot and would go on to face Corey Graves. Those two would have a very good match. I could be wrong here, but I believe it was the first time ever that those two faced off. And I thought they did well together. In the end, it looked at times like Corey Graves had the match won. Just wasn't quite enough, though. Looked at times like Navon had the match won as well. Even hit the pile driver at one point, and that wasn't enough. It did take a royal tuner, and Navon McDonald picked up, I believe Johnny Johnson even mentioned this, his very first victory in a King of the Yard tournament match. So, Navon McDonald will be moving on. And before I move into the next match, Gunshot says he can't believe. Yeah, we'll get to that match, actually. Can't believe what happened in the last match of this round. And Riley says Nevada and Graves was the only match I saw live. I watched a little bit of Victor and Blake. Mr. Judgment, good to see you in here. Calls everybody filth as per usual. They will all fail. You could be right. Yes, that's what I was mentioning. His first in any King of the Yard match, because he lost to AK-47 in the King of the Yard 1 first round, and he also lost to the Dark Side in that spectacular brawl, Extreme Rules match, whatever you want to call it. But it was something he needed, I guess you could say, for his ego. He got his ass beat last year in an unsanctioned match. Yes, that's what I was looking for, unsanctioned. So then after the King of the Mountain would finally pick up a King of the Yard victory and will advance to the quarterfinals, we would see PJC go up against the Dark Side. These two guys are familiar with each other from what I've been told quite a bit. And they put on a good match. And in the end, I think PJC just got the better of himself, to be honest with you, in a way. Going for his gimmick drop, I believe it's what it's called, and he did way too many gimmicks, ending with the Mr. Kennedy gimmick, and turning around into a kick to the gut after what the fuck. And, of course, a twisted mind, as the Dark Side would advance to the next round, which got a couple videos want to show from the two guys from that match here in just a moment. First, Gunshot says maybe we could see Pineapple and Duck in the King of the Yard. Maybe. Who knows what anybody will pull out. And Riley says Mr. Judgment socks are filthy. Wash yourself so you don't smell your own filth. This guy knows how to book. Gunshot, you mean? Yeah. This tournament is laughable, all puny mortals. And you would say that. All right. Let me get to... Hey, I appreciate that. You can't really post that you're live anymore because they took that away on YouTube. Otherwise, I'd have that on there. Let's see. I'll consume their souls. This tournament is laughable. Yeah. Judgment, I don't think anybody would expect anything less from you. Mr. Judgment with a... Yeah, I'm not going to repeat that one. All right. That one's all lined up. So let's share some, shall we? Here's some words from PJC.
Where is my microphone? It's right there. PJC, it's okay that you lost to the Dark Side. What? I'm not sad about that. Mickey ate the last Pop-Tart. Oh boy, Mickey got hungry. You snooze, you lose. Get out of here, Mickey. PJC, you know why we're friends, right? Yeah, of course. It's because of your left nostril. You have such a beautiful left nostril, man. No, it's not because of that. It's because of this. Oh yeah, you always have the box of Pop-Tarts. Thank you, man. Now, PJC, how do you really feel about losing to the Dark Side? Well, I feel good, man. It didn't really matter to me about winning. The Dark Side's a heck of a competitor. All that mattered to me was having fun. And I had a heck of a time at King of the Yard. And it really made me realize that I miss wrestling. I miss having fun. So for that reason, I think I'm going to stick around in NUW for a while. Why? Because I'm PJC. And I've got the muscle. Oh, and a box of Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts. Oh, I love you.
PJC.
What?
Finish the promo.
Oh, sorry. I just love Pop-Tarts so much.
This guy's a character. I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy watching him more often in King of the Yard, or in NUW, rather. Now let's hear some words from the victor. Here, just a moment. The dark side.
Now, I know I'm not going to have a compelling, captivating promo with all types of shit going on like PJC had. But the difference between myself and PJC's promo is the fact that I can say that I won, motherfucker. I am victorious, and I will be moving on in the King of the Yard 2 tournament. And I will be facing, in round number 3, a man by the name of Zach Cobalt. A man who also comes from BWE in Connecticut. He was here last year. He went home round number 1, and he's made an impact so far this tournament. The only man to ever make it to round 3 during round 1. So you gotta give him a pat on the back for that shit. However, a pat on the back can be accompanied by a pat on the goddamn ass as he's walking out the door. Don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you, motherfucker. The dark side is walking into round 3, and he's walking out of round 3 straight in to round number fucking 4. And you take 2 more of these. Well, I guess just 1 more. And what do you have? 16. And who, might I ask, goes by the moniker 16? Who's always throwing up the 16? Oh, that's right. The first ever and only ever so far King of the Yard, Cameron Jackson, baby. And the dark side is going to be joining illustrious company. The dark side will be the King of the Yard. The dark side will join Cameron Jackson on the Mount Rushmore of backyard wrestling. And Zach, I'm sorry, man. You're extra talented. You're somebody that I've been wanting to wrestle for plenty of years. But under these circumstances, I'm sorry, man. It's me or it's you. And when it comes down to me versus you, it's always going to be me, motherfucker. Your Continental Champion, the Dark Side.
They have words from both PJC and the Dark Side after a compelling match that those 2 men had. And yes, the Dark Side does mention Cameron Jackson. Would be remiss if we didn't remember or mention the fact that he is the only and first ever King of the Yard champion. Winner, whatever you want to call it. I'll get into my predictions as to the next round after we finish up the recap on this round. And thank you to both of those guys for those little promos there that we had. Looking forward to hopefully having some that we can put up, if not have guys to talk with next week in the final episode that we do here. But we'll get into that in a little bit. The next match we would see the boss of the sauce, Mike Perillo. A man who might have been a favorite for some people. He's a fan favorite, definitely in the Slaughterhouse. Would go up against Mr. Judgment. And before I get into that, I see PJC is in the chat section, says, thanks, Darkside. You earned my respect, too. Yes, please kick Zach Cobalt's butt. Mr. As the Darkside mentioned, PJC is the man, and he earned my complete respect, even with a nonsensical gimmick drop. But yes, the sauce. Mike Perillo gave up a good fight against Mr. Judgment, but in the end, the sauce just wasn't enough. We would see Mr. Judgment hit the Judgment Slam, as he's done to many opponents over the years, and pick up the 1, 2, 3, as Mr. Judgment will be moving on in the King of the Yard tournament to round 3, or the quarterfinals, whichever way you want to look at it. And of course, afterwards, Judgment did some pretty despicable thing. He picked up the jar of sauce and used it like an urn, held it like it was an urn, the Undertaker's urn, and kind of desecrated it and wiped his feet backwards towards it as well. So perhaps that won't be the last we see of Mike Perillo and Mr. Judgment. Who knows? So then after Mr. Judgment would pick up that win, we would move on to the Hellhound. Zach Romig would be in action, as he would go one-on-one with the S tier, another NUW fan favorite, Slaughterhouse fan favorite, David Lowell. And that match, to me, up to that point, was my favorite match of the tournament. There's one other one that we'll get to here in a minute that actually is my favorite match from this round of the tournament. Mr. Awesome says, violated some filth into the sauce. Yes, I would have to agree with that one. That's what Judgment did with Mike Perillo sauce. But Hellhound and David Lowell put on a very good match against each other. Who knows, it's something we possibly could see again, since Hellhound has been a staple in the Slaughterhouse as of late too. But it did come down to a cradle drop from David Lowell, as he would pick up the victory and would move on into the King of the Yard tournament, as he's having an impressive outing for his first King of the Yard tournament. In my opinion, David Lowell is making it quite a ways after being not too happy about missing out on that first King of the Yard. So then we move into the second to the last match of the tournament. You would see Dirty DeChico, the only man from UWE who is in the tournament, go up against Chaz Evans from WCF. And I've said this to a couple guys outside of here, and I've mentioned it probably even on here. Chaz Evans is a guy who has caught my attention throughout this entire tournament, from the qualifying round all the way to this match. And it looked to me at times, he had that armbar locked in a couple different times. I thought for sure Dirty Chico was going to tap out. And it's not something you can get Dirty usually to do. But just having those long arms and long legs, Dirty was able to get to the ropes every single time. And Chaz Evans, to me, has been the, I guess you'd say, breakout superstar of this tournament. I have been impressed by Zach Cobalt, what he did in the first round, but Chaz Evans is somebody who's caught my attention, and because of that, not just him, Damien Fatale as well. I'm going to be watching WCF more often, because it's something I haven't actually watched before, but they've definitely got my attention, and I want to see what these guys can do more often. And hopefully, maybe we'll even see him more in Slaughterhouse. But Chaz Evans gave up one hell of a fight. Like I said, this match was actually my favorite match of the second round of the tournament. And it came down to Chaz getting caught in midair with a spear from Dirty DeChico, which was the second spear I believe he delivered to him in that match, which isn't something that many people can say they got up from a first spear from Dirty. So Dirty DeChico did get the win. I'm sure Chaz Evans earned his respect, as he did many people's respect, in my opinion, after that match. It'll be interesting to see how Dirty does in the next round, especially knowing that Dirty, he's going to be going in with an injured wing, because that arm was targeted throughout that entire match by Chaz Evans. So, Mr. Awesome says he's got an undeniable future. I definitely agree with that for Chaz Evans. Gunshot says, I wonder in the King of the Yard tournament if we're going to see the Disease Gunslinger. I kind of doubt it, but you never know, I guess. So then we go into the final match of the second round. Damien Fatale, the WCF World Heavyweight Champion, went up against the NUW Undisputed Champion, Shadow Grim. This match was a very good match as well. To me, these last three matches were the three best matches in the second round, in my opinion. Great match between those two. I'm pretty sure Dark Side means Chaz Evans and Dirty Chico. I definitely agree with that one. Damien Fatale and Shadow Grim put on a very good match too. And in the end, we seen some shiesty shit, pretty much. As you'd see a low blow. Actually, I think it was two low blows from Damien Fatale as the referee was taken out. And then two NFGs from Fatale to put away the NUW Undisputed Champion, as Damien Fatale did upset Shadow Grim and is going to advance and knocked out Shadow Grim from this tournament, who I know Johnny Johnson mentioned was his favorite to win the tournament. And we haven't seen Shadow Grim lose that hardly at all in the last about a year, probably. So it was definitely an upset, in my opinion. What other people think, I'm not sure, but I know Gunshot mentioned earlier that it was shocking to him, surprising to him to see that happen. So, no, I'm not alone in that. All right, guys. So for anybody who's in the chat section, I want you guys to give me your opinions as well. What you thought was your favorite match of the tournament, and then of this round of the tournament, round 2. And then also give me your predictions on who you think is going to win the quarterfinal matches when I get into those. It was just a job. Yeah, I guess you're right, Damien. Welcome into the chat section. Okay. So, I'm going to move on after I take a drink here. The quarterfinals. Let me first say this. With things that happened between the Blaze first upsetting Nevon McDonald and then Nevon McDonald taking out the Blaze and going on to eliminate Corey Graves, they definitely threw my book out the window, I guess you could say, for my Final Four. Gunshot says, I quite enjoyed Shadow Grimm's match. That's probably been my favorite match so far. There you go. It was a very good match between him and Damien Fatale. I'll agree. But I will mention who I think will be in the Final Four, obviously, since we got the 8 men who will go down to 4. And then I'll go from there. Hey, H2, good to see you in there. Think the pineapple or duck is going over in the next round? Well, if we see the pineapple and the duck go against each other, I think I'd take the... Ooh, good question, but maybe take the pineapple. That and the dark side match was also pretty. Gunshot says. In that round. I did good. Dark side and PJC. So, also pretty good. Sorry, the stupid keyboard. I didn't get to finish typing when I was typing. Mr. Awesome says, Fatale and Grimm was a nice match. I'm not even going to lie. Good vibes. Darkside says, I enjoyed the Chico versus Evans probably the most. I'm in agreement with him on that one. Like I said, there were so many times it looked like Chaz Evans was going to pick up the win, which to me would have been an upset over a guy that's been around for as long as Dirty DeChico has been in this community. Now, as I let you guys keep posting that stuff in there, I'm going to move into the quarterfinals. We have the first match that was advertised for the quarterfinals is the King of the Mountain, Nevon McDonald, going up against said Dirty DeChico, the Underground Gunslinger. At 100%, Dirty DeChico's definitely a threat. He's not going to be 100% though, by any way, shape, or form. And I know Nevon McDonald is, I'm sure, watched that match very closely and is going to be targeting that arm. And they're going to put on a good match, I'm sure, because it's Nevon McDonald and it's Dirty DeChico. But in the end, I got to go with Nevon McDonald making the Final Four. I know I originally said I thought Dirty DeChico and Mr. Judgment were my final 2. But after seeing how things have gone, I've got to change that a little bit here. And I'm putting Nevon McDonald to make it to the Final Four. Read this before I go into the next one. Mr. Awesome says Graves Nevon was very back and forth, showcasing the fact that the King of the Mountain is ruthless enough to get what he wants. True. Probably my fave of round 2, although Dirty Evans was dope. So his favorite, Mr. Awesome's favorite match was Graves and Nevon McDonald. So then the next match we got advertised for the quarterfinals is man that the Dark Side mentioned in his promo you seen there a little bit ago. Zach Cobalt going one-on-one with the Continental Champion, the Dark Side. And yes, Zach Cobalt was, to me, the most impressive man in day 1 of the first round because he won 2 matches, which nobody else has ever done that, to go from round 1 to round 3 in the same day. But I think Zach Cobalt's luck's going to run out here in the quarterfinals. I got the Dark Side picking up the victory. I think the Dark Side's going to advance to the Final Four. Gunshot says maybe we can see somebody from Indiana Championship Wrestling or IBW in the King of the Yard tournament. Maybe just a dream. There's another one. Who knows? All right. And then I'm sure Zach Cobalt will put up a great fight with the Dark Side as well. Be quite interesting to see that one. Anybody guys from Indiana, but they didn't come. Well, there's that too. No other guys that didn't come too. But. The next quarterfinal match is Victor Van Pelt going one-on-one with the S-tier David Lowell. And kind of hate to keep this going, but I got the NUW guy, David Lowell. I want to see advance. I could see Victor Van Pelt winning it, but I'd rather see David Lowell make the Final Four, personally, than Victor Van Pelt. And then, like I said, I'll get your guys' predictions for these matches as well. But the final match, Mr. Judgment, who's a little salty with the NUW editing team, with a certain individual who does the graphics, because he's been spelling his name wrong in the tournament in the feed. That's not here nor there. Mr. Judgment will be going up against a man who I think will be his biggest test to date in this King of the Yard 2 tournament when he goes against the WCF World Heavyweight Champion, the supervillain himself, Damien Fatale. And I could see this one being a hard-hitting affair, and it could go either way. But I got to keep Mr. Judgment in the Final Four like I've had him pretty much the whole time. Yeah, I think I got to. I don't think that, not to take anything away from Damien Fatale, because I've been impressed by him as well throughout this tournament so far. And, I mean, when you beat Shadowgrim, like I mentioned, who hasn't really lost hardly at all in the last year or so, that says volumes of your character and what you can do in the ring, in my opinion. But I think Mr. Judgment is still going to be just a little bit better. Oh, I mentioned WCF champion Damien Fatale. Can't forget, Mr. Judgment is the current champion as well. He's a current champion as well. So it'll be champion versus champion yet again. Gunshot says maybe they spelled his name wrong because he hasn't taken a shower in a week. I can smell him through my phone and he smells terrible. That's just terrible, Gunshot. Very terrible. So it'll be DBW World Champion versus WCF World Champion. And yet another champion versus champion match. But yeah, so I've got, for my new Final Four, we'll see what happens. I don't know who's facing who or how the bracket exactly turns out for the semifinals, but I got Navon McDonald, the Dark Side, David Lowell, and Mr. Judgment, I think, are going to advance to the Final Four. Mr. Austin says, I'm really excited for round 3. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it myself. Unfortunately, I won't be at home to watch live, but I will be watching not long after. Damien Fatale mentions I've had my championship longer, probably because Mr. Judgment just won his title the last show I think they had of 2018. So, and Jess says, really, I thought it was funny. Well, it was funny, but I don't think Mr. Judgment would find it funny. Let's put it that way. Oh. So give me your guys' predictions. Who do you think is going to advance out of those matches, and where do you think things are going to fall as we head into the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals all this next Thursday at 7 p.m., this upcoming Thursday, rather, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the NUW channel. Round 3 is going to be awesome, Gunshot says. Oh, Mr. Judgment can't take my soul. I don't have one to take. Damien Fatale says. That's interesting. So, I'll put this out there while you guys do that. Again, like I said, not knowing how exactly the brackets are set up. I told you my Final Four. I'd kind of like to see... I still think Mr. Judgment is going to make it to the Final 2. I'd actually like to see the Dark Side make it to be the opponent for him in the final two, though. Now that I think that Dirty DeChico is going to get eliminated by Navon McDonald, I'd like to see. We haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't seen yet Mr. Judgment versus the Dark Side 1-on-1. So if things go the way I'm thinking possible, I'd like to see the Dark Side and Mr. Judgment in the finals. I'd be fine with the Dark Side winning it. That would be a great achievement for him, and it would be nice to see happen as well. I'm not taking anything away from Navon McDonald, though, because, well, if he loses again, he's going to be one upset guy, I'm sure. It could be David Llewell and Navon McDonald, or it could be Navon McDonald and the Dark Side, or Navon McDonald and Mr. Judgment in the finals. But I'm going to go with the Dark Side and Mr. Judgment. Mr. Austin says, tell those shiesty motherfuckers at work if they want cookies and you should get time to watch. Yeah, I wish. But Gunshot says, I'm picking Dark Side to win this tournament. Damien Fatale says, Navon McDonald, the Dark Side himself, and Victor Van Pelt are his picks to win the quarterfinals. Of course, I know Damien Fatale would pick himself to win the whole tournament, which I'm sure the Dark Side would do as well, and Judgment and all the rest of these guys would do as well. Because why would you pick anybody else? So I want to hear from the rest of you guys who are in the chat section. Who do you guys got for the final four? Who do you think is going to make it to the final two? And who do you think is going to win the tournament? Nobody likes Navon McDouchebag. Facts, yeah. I like to bring up some facts occasionally. More often than not. So it has been a very interesting tournament altogether. Been fun to watch. And definitely been a lot of newer faces compared to who was in the first King of the Yard tournament. I've enjoyed watching a lot of them. Who we'll see going forward in NUW or we'll watch on other programming, we'll find out. But it's really nice to see some of these guys more of than just in this tournament. Like I said, I know WCF has got a new fan out of me because I just recently followed their YouTube channel. I haven't gone back and watched anything yet, but I do know they've got some videos coming out eventually. Damien Fatale says, Navon is a great friend of mine, and I got a personal invite to this tournament. There you go. And I know that him and Shadowgram recently showed up at WCF as well. So. All right. So as I wait to see if anybody else has any predictions in the chat section, I'm going to say this. Next Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, is what I have as of right now planned. I know I was talking with Mr. Judgment last night a little bit on Twitter. He mentioned it's President's Day next Monday, which I completely forgot about. So if that brings up any problems for anybody else, let me know. I might be able to change it to Tuesday night at 6 p.m. if that works better for people. Next week, either Monday or Tuesday, whichever ends up happening. I'll keep you guys posted on Twitter. Will be the final King of the Yard 2 recap show. And for that, I would like to get at least as many of the final 8 participants involved onto that show to talk about how their experience was with the tournament. And if there's anybody else who is part of the tournament wants to come onto the show, I'd be more than happy to have them come on and just speak about what it was like to be part of King of the Yard 2. So I might just eventually be DMing some of those guys, getting a hold of them or whatever. But if you guys could share this, and if you know of ways to contact those guys, then feel free to let them know. Hey, Tony's looking to bring some of you guys on here if you want to talk about your experience in King of the Yard 2. Just give him a shout. My night's going well, thank you, Gunshot. Hope yours is too. But yeah. So that's something I want to do since it'll be the final one. Now, other than that, you will be getting an announcement here in the next few days, which I'll get into in just a moment. Damien Fattel says, I got tons to say. It's a good thing. And the Dark Side says, no disrespect to anyone else who wants an ass whooping courtesy of the Dark Side, but I'm going to be holding up that crown over my head with my boot stuck in the ass of Ron McDonald. I could imagine that. Imagine it very well. Even if the guys don't want to come on here live, if they don't have a chance to, like those promos you've seen earlier, I'd be willing to take those and post them up, put them up in the show as well. But later this week, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do it Thursday night or Friday at some point, but I will be posting on Twitter, on my Twitter page, who the next guest on Tiger Talks Wrestling will be. Somebody who's part of the King of the Yard 2 tournament. I'll give you that much, but that's all I'm going to say about it. As we'll be talking about that and among other things. Gunshot says, hell yeah, let's go Darkseid, as Gunshot does have Darkseid as his favorite to win this tournament. Yeah, I even said I'd like to see Darkseid and Mr. Judgment, if possible, in the final 2. So, I gotta go with the Darkseid to win it, though, if it comes down to those 2. I mean, I could see Mr. Judgment taking it, but I got the Darkseid. All right. So if there's nothing else, nobody else has any predictions, then I think this is about time that we'll end the show. Talk about that. If I can figure out a way to, I might see about posting at some point after King of the Yard 2 is finished this Thursday night, and I'll try to figure out a way to post then who will be the next guest on Tiger Talks Wrestling, but we'll see, because I'm not sure how long the show will be, and I won't be out of work till about 9:30-ish, so. Maybe late that night, around 10 o'clock, I'll post who's going to be the next guest on Tiger Talks Wrestling. So be on the lookout for that. One last time I'll mention this. Next week, either Monday or Tuesday, depending on which works better out for anybody who might want to join the show, will be the final King of the Yard 2 recap show. Well, we're open till 9 o'clock, and then I won't be out of work until 9:30-ish p.m. because I work nights that day. Some people have to stay later at different places, so boss isn't really a dick. It's because of what job I have. Anyway, next week, either Monday or Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, will be the final recap show of King of the Yard 2 of the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals, which we'll just do an overall tournament, pretty much. If we can get anybody on, that'd be great. If not, if they just want to send in videos like what the promos, like what we showed earlier, that's fine too. And then you'll find out who the next guest will be by the end of this week on Tiger Talks Wrestling, so be on the lookout for that. I'll mention it again when we have the King of the Yard 2 final recap show next week as well. Other than that, that's all I got for tonight, guys. See you on the next ship.